So, I wanted to share something that's been going on in my life recently that's actually been really cool. Um, as virtually all of my friends will know, for the last 3.5 to 4 years, I've been struggling with long COVID, which has been a really painful process and a really hard process to go through. And long COVID, it affects different people in lots of different ways. A lot of people get breathing problems, but for me, I've had chronic fatigue, which has been really difficult. And again, fatigue affects people in different ways. But for me, it was kind of on a day to day basis, up and down. Some days I'd feel better, some days I'd feel worse. I could have some weeks where I'm doing a little bit better, and then I might overdo it and crash. And then I'd have 3 days where I can't get out of bed. And at the worst points, I was stuck in bed, not able to eat because I didn't have the energy to walk to the kitchen, and saving the tiny amount of energy I had for a trip to the toilet. Um, so it's been a difficult process, and I've had to learn to not overdo it, which I found incredibly difficult because my personality type is I like to push through, I like work hard, I like to go all in for things. And I've particularly found it hard being a youth worker. If I run a youth group, then often the next day I'll find it really hard. Wednesday nights is my like big youth group where we end up playing dodgeball and running around and doing all sorts of games and silly things. And so most Thursdays for the last few years have been kind of a write off. Um, and I particularly make sure I don't have anything organised for Thursday mornings because I just crash. Um, as I say, I've gotten a little better at managing. I've learned to take breaks. I've learned more to pace myself than I used to, but I find that really hard. Um, I just love to just go all in and push through and try and do things, and then I find the next day or even immediately after I'm regretting it and going, "What on earth did you do that for?" Um, when the kids want to play dodgeball, I don't like to go easy on them. I like to win. I like to push through, and then afterwards, I find myself going, "You muppet! Why did you do that? You know you're gonna feel rubbish tomorrow." Um, and so it's been a difficult process, and it's been a really difficult time. But a month ago, Claire and I went to Big Church Festival. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's a camp with sort of Christian musicians and things like that. All sorts of different things going on within it. It's a festival type vibe, and I was really struggling. I was having a really bad day on the day we went up, and then between trekking stuff to taking stuff, packing up the cars, and then unpacking the cars and trekking it across fields over hills, then going on to set up the tent and set up the camp. I was having a rubbish day. And I had pushed through to the point where I was literally curled up on the floor in tears at one point, trying to rest and recover, but just feeling rubbish, feeling like my whole body was screaming at me. And on the second day, we took it slow. Again, I was feeling a bit rubbish. I was feeling the effects of the day before, but I was pushing through a little bit. And in the evening, we went to see Jonathan and Melissa Helser. And in the middle of their worship set, they said, "We feel as though God's Holy Spirit wants to pour out and heal people." Now, I believe God can and does heal, but Claire and I have prayed countless times for healing, and it seemed that God has said no. It seemed as though He's not answered that prayer. But on this occasion, I found myself asking for healing again, and this time something felt different. It felt like a weight lifted off me. And the worship set continues and comes to a close, and Claire looks at me and she knows I've been struggling all day, so she says, should we head to bed? Should we go rest? And I say, no, let's go to the late night bonfire, which turned out to be Tim the Glory Boys, which is one of our favourite bands, so that was excellent. But she thought that was odd because she knew I'd been struggling all day. And then later in bed I told her that I didn't want to get too excited because it's really painful when you get your hopes up and then the next day you're feeling rubbish. But I told her that I was feeling a little different. I told her that during that worship set when they said about healing, I felt like a weight had been lifted. So the next morning, Claire asked how I'm feeling, and I told her I was feeling tired, but not COVID tired. If you haven't had fatigue before, it's a very unique kind of tiredness. You know, it's a bit like how when you're sleepy tired, it's different to when you're exhausted tired, which is different from when you're like muscularly tired or mentally tired, or you know when you've just had a really long day at work and you're just and you know there's different kinds of tiredness, and fatigue is in itself it's very different. It's very identifiable, and it's similar but different. And I told her I wasn't feeling fatigue tired. I felt like the kind of tired you feel when you've slept in a camp bed and it's been freezing cold in the night and you've not really slept and you walked like 20,000 steps yesterday because you're at a camp and you know you're chronically unfit because you've not been to the gym for 4 years. And the day went on and I was fine. And the next day I was fine. And we're now a month later and I'm yet to have a bad day. I've gone from probably averaging 2 or 3 really bad days a week, probably 1 or 2 of which I'd struggle to get out of bed for, to none. In that month, I've gradually tested it more and more. I've been pushing myself further and further. I've been doing more walks, more light exercise, more jobs, taking less rests, less breaks. And I've been testing it more and more to the point where last Saturday I really pushed it and I did park run and I pushed it as hard as I could and I did it in 33 minutes and 9 seconds, which I realise isn't the most impressive running speed ever, but I haven't done exercise in 4 years. And I crossed that line panting, red in the face, sweat dripping down me, having really, really pushed it. And I know that had I done that a month ago, I would, well, it's now Tuesday, the day recording this, and I'd probably still be in bed if I did that. Because I know that when I push myself like that, it has major repercussions. But it didn't. I've been absolutely fine since. In fact, I've exercised since then. And Claire and I are starting to think about a running program, a training program, so that we can both get fitter. I didn't want to post this video any earlier than a month on because I know my condition can have its ups and downs. I know that I can have the odd week where I'm feeling better, and I really didn't want to preemptively declare a miracle. I'm always quite a skeptical person. I'm really careful. I'm the type of I don't want to give a false testimony. I don't believe God needs me to lie on his behalf. And so I'm so careful not to exaggerate or to tell lies, to share my faith. But a month on, we've really tested it. And I've been able to do so much more than I was doing previously. I'm still chronically underfit. God seems to have healed the condition. He doesn't seem to have healed the fact that I haven't been to the gym in 4 years, which is a bit frustrating. But I'm absolutely amazed by how much I'm able to do. And as I said before, a month ago, I was struggling with 2 or 3 bad days a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. It varied from week to week. But in the last week, I've had none. Zero. I've had 0 days where I've been stuck in bed, 0 days where I've um, lain in bed and gone, I have to take today really slow and really carefully. I truly believe that God has healed me. Now, I don't know why now. As I say, Claire and I have prayed hundreds of times with seemingly no response. But it seems as though this time he's said yes. And I can't put into words how grateful I am for that. I've had a lot of time to reflect on why now, and I don't know, but perhaps someone needs to hear this, and perhaps someone needs to know that there is a God, that he is real, that he is listening, and that he answers prayers. I'm always pretty open about my faith. I try not to hide it at all. I don't pretend I have all the answers for you, but if you do have any questions, be it about long COVID or about healing or about God, I'd love to chat about them and explore it further with you.